What's
are
up,
alive.
everyone?
We are alive with our show faces on. Da-da-da!
It's nothing like catching Lynn when she says it's showtime, and I'm like, okay, I got to put my show face on.
Okay.
Go.
Hey, you guys. We will be right back right
Hello.
after I find our video. All right, you guys. We'll be right back. And this is why we are
This is
raw
going to
and
be a
real.
wonderful show. Can you tell?
It always is. We'll be right
Yes.
back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Real and Raw. And I'm Lynn Serrano, and you are?
I'm Brian.
Hello, Brian. Welcome to the show. I'm glad
Howdy.
after what I put you through the last couple of weeks, I'm glad I still have a co-host, to be quite honest.
I actually love it. I love it. I really do. I don't consider it any discomfort at all. I actually appreciate it. It keeps it new and fun, and obviously for our listeners, they get to have a few extra laughs today and over the past couple weeks. So
Hello, thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here.
yes.
Well, I want to take a little memory lane here. The last couple of weeks, I've had a little fun with Brian. Brian picked the topic. Oh my gosh, Christopher Green is here.
Christopher Green's here.
He's a celebrity in himself, so I am honored that you're here, sir. And I opened my mouth and told him about the video last week, and I'm like really goofy, and he's more professional. So I was like, oh, well, you can only watch this little bit. I think he watched more than I wanted him to. But anywho, so I want to take everyone down a little memory lane here. Let's see. 3 weeks ago, I asked Brian, hey, Brian, what's the topic? And he picked up the topic, and he he went ahead and picked the topic, and it was kind of, to be honest, it was a little negative, but I went with it, and I flipped the switch on him a little bit. And you're just going to have to go to YouTube and rewind what happened a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I surprised him last week, and I made this little clip because if you know me, I love little clips. So we're going to talk through this. But yeah, so
Lynn's likes to surprise people. What?
Yeah, so I made this clip, and so last week I said to Brian, he went and got the book. And he got the book, and I'm going to let him explain this with the video here of what's going on here. So here we go. So go ahead, Brian, real quick.
Yeah, so these are just fun moments throughout, last week and whatnot. Right there's a picture of me when I got the book, and I know how in Rex's community he loves when people take photos. So I'm like, looking at the camera wasn't necessarily the right thing for me, so I just had a goofy face with an unshaved couple days. And right here is when we actually had him on with us last week, and it was just great from some great moments of being in the moment with him and Lynn smiling. And there's my 1 page of notes and just referencing the book and just having a great time together.
Yeah, it was awesome. Some people made reference to me, Brian. I think you were more excited to Brian. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I know Brian. Brian was so excited. You didn't see on the outside, but I know on the inside, he was like, oh my gosh, this is like, and I know Rex was thinking I didn't let Brian speak, but I was like, no, trust me, Brian couldn't speak. You had the floor. You had the floor, Rex. His tongue is down on the floor right now. He's got to pick himself up. Just let Brian be right where he is.
Well, and a lot of people say, because one of my backgrounds is in psychology, and it's a lot of people ask me, they're like, well, don't you have anything to say? And I'm like, I get more out of just listening, right? And you can either listen or talk. And it's like, for me in these circumstances, especially when I know it's transformative, my feelings and how I feel internally, that's what I'm after, right? I don't really need to say much. That's why Rex is like, hey, let Brian talk, which is great and nice of him. But it was how I was feeling was different,
This is awesome. That was awesome. So before I get it for Brian, our Brian Kelm, I wanted Brian to read real quick 2 reviews on the back of the book real quick, Brian, if you would.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we've referenced Rex's book. It's $20 on Amazon, and you get a free $497 course. how much do you value your life? How much do you value your transformation? And whatever's holding you back in life, how much is it worth to you to get rid of it, or at least set it aside or minimize it? So here we go. Dr. Joe Vitale, author of The Miracle, eye-opening, answers questions everyone has had about how to really live the life of their dreams. Read it. Empowering, end quote. And then the next one is from Brian Tracy, who's a legend in the personal development space. And I quote, "This book is loaded with powerful insights and ideas that motivate and inspire you to accomplish great things. Get ready to change your life in a wonderful way," end quote. Big time quotes right there.
So again, now that we got that, Brian, let's our one and only Brian Kelm give just the intro of the book. And of course, we saw in that video montage of pictures that you were already taking notes. And I got to give you guys a little backstage funny thing, right? Brian didn't know that backstage was was Rex. And so right before we started, Brian goes like this to me. He's like, "Oh, yeah, the book. Look I've taken lots of notes." So of course, when Rex got on there, and Rex goes, "And I see you took a lot of notes." Because Rex got to
the tongue
hear
went down to the floor.
Yeah. So it was so fun because he was just like bragging about the notes. So it was hysterical. It was just great because I just love what I do. That's all I can say.
Well, and I know, Lynn, it's like a normal show. There's no such thing because we defy that every week, right? It's just a matter of how she's going to trump it from week to week. You know what I mean? I always know that she's got some up her sleeve, and if it's a tame day, I'd be very surprised. So. But she loves doing it, and she's great at it. So.
I told him what I wanted to be said, that someday when I'm gone and people interview him, say, "How was it to work with Lynn?" I go, "Well, you know what? You guys showed up to watch a show, and so did I, because I never knew what that girl was up to. She never gave me an inside, I'd say the topic, okay. And I just, most of the time, this poor guy has no idea what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. And that's what happens when you're going to be a co-host with me. And so
it's called improv training.
That's what
it's
right.
called.
So
improv
I'm trying
training.
to get this Christopher Green to do a show with me.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We'll see. I might scare him off beforehand, but we'll see.
Nah, don't worry about it, Christopher. She'll tell you everything you need to know before the show and during it.
Not.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Larry, how you doing, bud?
So yeah, he said greetings before. So yeah. Anyways, but anyhow, so again, what's your take so far on what you've read so far?
I'm up to almost 2 full pages of notes. I'm going to read more today. I had some things I got to take care of today, and I've already been working on. But anytime I read, I don't want to have anything on my mind that is not going to allow me to be present, right? Because I want to make sure that when I read something, I take notes, and I want to make sure that it's an investment, so that whenever I go back, I can revisit my notes, and I've taken them to the nth level. So today is be, do, and have. I think it's so spot on in terms of how you really succeed and how you really become fulfilled, right? If you're being that person and you do those things, then you have that. Most of society has it backwards, and then they wonder why they're running in circles. They have, do, and be. If I have this thing, then I will do this, then I will become that. It doesn't work that way, right? We have the power inside of us to be anything that we want to be. Maybe not a professional basketball player or whatever, but anything that we want to be is within our power right now without anything added, right? But if we are demoralized, or if we are living in a whole bunch of self-limiting beliefs, of course, we're not going to see it that way. So if you remove all of that and continue to do it on a regular basis, that excuses and blame, those are nothing besides, self-limiting beliefs. And so we have the power every day to wake up and to be what we want to be, and then do the things that we want to do, and then have the life that we want to have. Anybody that buys a whole bunch of things, and it's like, ooh, if I have that item, or if I have this or whatever, you have the same life, right? With a new fancy toy the new toy smell is going to wear off in a little bit, and you're going to go back to the same life that you've had, right? This is a free way of investing in yourself for the rest of your life that is free. You do the inner work, and It should be something that excites you, because all of a sudden you see life through a different set of glasses.
So, Brian, would you say that me halting you from where you were and where this book's right now has brought you, like I saw the train wreck stop. I was like, I just had to stop you and say, look at this, and we love to talk about topics, but going forward, I think the empowerment just to get you on the same level as I am, for us to go forward in the topics that we can go. I knew that you were going to get it. I just knew you were going to get it. And I knew you were that close. And so I'm super excited to see how much you've absorbed. And I think the switch flipped for you
Well, and it's like there's switches that are going to flip all the time, because until it becomes habit, it's a work in progress, right? But there was something I read this morning that talks about, as Rex said on page, I don't know what it is. If you have more difficulty thinking positively than negatively, it is only because you have traveled the negative pathways more frequently.
Right. And that's fine. But you see, the first part of anything is to acknowledge it, right?
Yep.
And that takes the power away. It diffuses it from having that power over you. So,
and like you said a couple of weeks ago, it's like, the weaknesses. I mean, that was the topic. It's like, having weaknesses and how you cope. It's like, they're not weaknesses. That's what you made it up to be. They're self-limiting beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, to bring something to a simple place, and then then your curiosity deepens your understanding that all it is a self-limiting belief, that society, you're growing up and all of that has deepened that. That's why it's so hard to get rid of it or disrupt it, is because it's so rooted in your makeup, but the awareness, that was something that I read today, is that that awareness is the first practice you must adopt in order to change. If you're not aware of it, you don't know where to look. And if you don't know where to look, you can't disrupt it. And so Rex has a great way of just making stuff so simple, but also, though, really touching the heart in such a way where, wow, we make life way too difficult, way too complex. It doesn't need to be that way.
I know. And I'm so excited. I'm super excited. I can't scare you off. Okay. Well, it's going to be fabulous.
Hey, Lynn, take a screenshot of that, so when he's actually on your show, then you can bring that up,
Well, the thing is that I've always said this, and I've always known this: to know me is to love me. And for those on the outside, you're just not in the inside club yet. And I think everything is, and I say this more now than ever, I think everything is an inside job. And when we work on the inside, and last year, I was trying to work on my inside, Brian, and I think I did get all the answers. I was millimeters off on my health, but I wrapped it up, because that's what I wanted last year, was my health. And I really got the answers, and now I'm honing into it. And I really see a really good light at the end of the tunnel on it. And I'm really, really excited about everything there. So, again, you just got to believe, and you got to know. And I mean, I knew something was wrong. But it wasn't going to shake me enough to worry about it. I just knew that it, just had to work on it. And again, it's just the mindset. And it's knowing that what you want, you have it now. It's not having it later. It's
Correct.
Living the life and having it now. That really is the ripple effect to everything. And knowing that you usually have your way of, what does he say here? I'm so happy to hear that.
I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah.
But the thing is that I'm happy that you took yourself, because you have a pattern, like you said, you have a list of books that you normally like to read, and then you like to go systematically. Mm-hmm. But you see, disrupting your system is also good for the mind.
Yep.
It's also good not to say, okay, but Lynn, I'm sorry, I have to do it this way or whatever, because yourself being that way, but being that way you're still not changing your life.
Right.
Because you're so rigid on your formula.
Right.
And we've been working together for a year now. So here I am shaking you to the core and shaking you up a little bit. And I've seen amazing things out of you, Brian, since then.
Thank you. Well, and it's also, you can't, if you have constant mental junk in your way, right? No matter therapy or whatever, it's going to stay there as long as you let it stay there, period.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it makes it impossible to consistently do the things that you want to do in life creatively, whatever it might be. If that constantly shows up, I mean, you're going to wear yourself out, right? And it's like, it doesn't have to be there. It does not have to be there. It's
remember, you're the only one standing in your way, mister.
100%.
And I'm not letting you do it.
Well, and it's like everything that we're up to in life is we're putting the meaning into it as far as how important it is or whatever. You know what I mean? Nobody else is living in our shoes, and so there's so much meaning in what we make up about our existence, right? Yeah. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I'm a horrible person. It's like, no wonder why you have to disrupt it in a big way. And it's a commitment for a very long time. That's why Rex has been doing this for over 40 years. I mean, good Lord. I mean, it didn't come easy, I'm sure, but it's like he had a consistent commitment to practice it and to do it every day. And that's the same thing with living life. You have a choice about that canvas you're painting on, but if you don't paint every day, the painting isn't going to look like anything. And, I battle for so many years of, not being good enough or, being better than you or whatever. Like there's always a flip side to everything, but it's like, I don't, the pandemic and what we went through is something that I'm going to be myself, and that's it,
Well, Brian, what I want you to know, because we're going to be closing up here soon.
Yeah.
And time does fly when we get together.
Sure does.
But listen, one thing I've always known in my core is that we spend too much time judging everything. And I mean, I'm human. We're human. We do this, but judge not, ye not be judged.
Right.
Don't judge everything or anything. When you judge things, your belief system's taking over. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. Don't judge that person because you're judging yourself. We're just a mirror of one another. Right. And that, and you're broadcasting that out. Mm-hmm. So when we catch ourselves, we should catch ourselves, because that's not the way we should talk about ourselves, Right. And so being kind and loving, people have a hard time being kind and loving to another person. But you know what? What you're doing is you're really showing how not kind and loving you are to not yourself.
Right. Right.
And that says so much about yourself. It's like, oh shit. And you know what? For those that are awoken to it, we can really see that you don't love yourself.
Right.
And the other ones just realize that it's just half of America. Well, good old Amazon's at the door.
And then and then it's like when you've given so much of your false identity or fake self to other people, it's perceived as real and whatnot, but it's like, okay, after all of that giving is done, you find out how empty you are, and it's debilitating, because it's like, wow. I mean, I look at everything like building a house, right? If your foundation is not strong, it doesn't really matter, right? And I use that metaphor and that visual a lot, like of a house when it's strong and whatnot. I mean, you can't create anything that's going to be sustainable, like the third floor, without having a solid base, and that's your mind. That's your love for yourself, and there's a lot of people that have written about it, but it goes back to that, and it doesn't happen. You got to wait for the concrete to dry, you got to make sure it's properly, the architecture is proper and the ground is ready. I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can take our daily life and reflect on other things. And for me, it's a house. Like a house is how it's built and how it's created. Helps me out in that way.
And that's what I love about Rex's book, you guys. We'll go ahead later and put the link to Rex's book down below, because I'm telling you, the results, I mean, from Joe Soto, I mean, amazing people. He's worked with so many people that you would go, he's worked with who? Who are some of his students? He has taught so much. This man is wise beyond his years. I mean, even the granddaughter of Napoleon Hill has endorsed this book. So I'm telling you, it's just so simple. It's for anybody that's wanting to change their life and see results. Go ahead.
Well, Lynn, put that picture up there one more time. It's like, okay, for $20, if you were to disrupt or move any one of those items underneath amazing results, would it be worth $20? Oh, and by the way, you know, would it be worth it? You know, like develop a champion mindset, activate a winner's attitude. How much is your attitude worth every day to what life looks like? You know, live victoriously. What does that look like for you? You know, I could go on and on and on, and we don't want to make this about whatever, but I mean, if you don't invest in yourself, don't, you know,
well,
there's only so much life will give you if you don't invest in yourself.
So Brian, seriously, let me just say this and leave this here
Sure.
as it is. Okay. So honestly, are you glad that I said, let's read the book now?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you think that this will help you going forward reading other books? Because not only with that course that he gave you, telling you to remember that you did listen to that course, right?
No, I haven't got into it
okay,
yet. No.
But you know, before you read that second part where he tells you to go back and read that, listen to that course, because he tells you, be like a child, like realize that you don't know everything.
Yep.
You think you know. Every time you say I know, and I've been trying to catch myself when I say I know, say you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. Correct. And when you catch yourself like that, you open yourself to realize, shit, I don't know what, and then you're like, okay, let me listen and hear what I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And even any course you take, you may have heard this stuff, but you'll pick up one little crumb. Everything, there's always a different angle or different. Not two teachers are going to teach the same course the same way. Mm-hmm. Because they have their different perceptions and perspectives. So again, I'm just glad that you took time to disrupt your normal, list. And I think that one course, just listening and have it in the background a couple times, and then just listen to it, because he doesn't have it like he has his background and the dogs barking. I mean, it's really a chill out thing, but what he's got, and he says, look, when you hone into what you want to listen to, you don't hear the dogs, you don't hear this. I mean, correct. It's really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it got to a point where it was annoying to change my smoke detector at one point, right? I couldn't change it. It got to a point where I didn't hear it. Everybody else heard that shit. I didn't hear it. I mean, it really gets down to just honing into what you want. And so again, I think that this is a catalyst for you for things going forward. And I know we're running out of time here, but I'm really grateful that you went down this journey with me. And I'm think for our listeners and going forward, we're going to be so much more impactful in picking our words of positivity.
Well, and here's a question for everybody, and it might be a long-winded question, but hopefully get the gist of it, is that how much of life are you going to continue to allow to go by and having life just put on you versus being at the source of it? You know, like we're conditioned a certain way by our upbringing, by what society and just all sorts of stuff. But in my opinion, it's a lot of noise, right? It's just there, and it's there regardless. And every day and year that goes by, there he is. Yep.
Sharing your show.
Thank you for being here, sir.
Yes. Well, like I said, you're doing so much for the world, and I just need the world to know, while you're still on this world, we are blessed, and it's the best time to learn from the man himself while he's still here, to be quite honest.
Correct.
And to appreciate him while he's here, and to ask him the questions we can ask. I mean, can't go back and ask Napoleon Hill on page 5. What were you talking about there? I mean, that's what's so cool about this book. I mean, it's just, thank you, Rex, for taking time on your busy schedule to even stop here. I'm going to close out with this little video that I made. And Rex, I'm going to give you a copy of this. You guys, thank you so much. We love you. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Bye.